Welcome to the 29th episode of the Mondays Kept Me Fat podcast. I am Nurse Kevin. I'm a registered nurse who specializes in weight loss and health promotion in a single origin, grass-fed, fixed-gear, slow-roasted weight loss plan focused on starting, enduring, and almost succeeding. But don't let that almost fool you. That's the key to my approach to losing weight and keeping it off. There's one thing that I realize here at the start of my 6th decade on this planet. I'm 51 years old, and I've come to realize that there's one thing I treasure more than anything else in the world, and that's time. There's never enough time to spend with those you love and doing the stuff you love doing. There are two truths about time. First, time is finite. And second, unfortunately, that finite amount is unknown. Basically, you only have so much time and you don't know how much time you have. This is the dilemma I have. You have. Every fellow human being on the face of the earth has. So when I hear you say, I don't have time to exercise, truth be known, I completely understand. I'm right there with you. Here's the other part of the equation. If you want more time, you're going to need to find time to exercise. How? Time to exercise lies in the margins of life. Where are your margins? Now let me explain margins, life's margins. I'm going to give you an example. When I was in nursing school, and of course every school requires books, you got to buy these expensive textbooks. If it was the current edition, I would buy a used one every single time. Bordering the lines of text on the pages are these white areas, the margins. Often in used books, there are these notes that are written in the margins. Now, granted, the person who wrote the notes may be an idiot, so I never really would pay attention to it. But what they were doing is they were filling in what they needed to know for that course in the margins. They were filling it in their space that they had on that page. You could highlight the text, but you needed an explanation. So a lot of times we wrote in the margins. Now, finding the margins in life is not always easy. There's our life that takes up the majority of our time, working, schooling, homeworking, cleaning, cooking, sleeping, shopping, and all the other taskings of the day. These tasks fill the majority of our life's pages. This is the text of our lives. These are the time-absorbing, not time-wasting, but the time-absorbing tasks that we have to do in order to keep our lives flowing in a positive direction. You drop any one of these tasks, any one of these things on the page of your life, and then something goes awry, and then you find yourself with less margin because now you're trying to remember or fix what should be in the text or the fixed part of your page. Now, it's hard for me to explain to you where your margins are, but I hope that by the example I'm going to give you, my margins, this will help. Many of you know that I just started a new job, and I know from past events, like starting a new job, that there's a big risk of me actually dropping the ball. There are so many things in life that actually seem more important than exercise. And those things that seem more important are things that other people want me to do. Other people are expecting me to do, like at a job. You want to make a great first impression, so you spend more time getting ready. You spend more time maybe shopping for clothing or trying to figure out what to wear. These things take 5, 6, 7 minutes out of your day, each and every one, and they start to eat away at your margins. I knew that I was going to have to solidify my margins. I was going to have to make sure I found time to exercise, found time to plan my meals even. And so I started my day at 8 a.m. But really did I? That day actually started hours earlier. I had to wake up, and then you have to wake up. You know, there's a difference. You wake up from bed, and then you have to actually go through this moment of waking up. You get your coffee, and before you know it, it's time to get ready. Then you get ready, and you hit the road. Now you've got to commute. But you want to leave instead of 30 minutes because it takes you 30 minutes to get there. You want to leave a little bit sooner. And that 30-minute commute turns into a 45-minute commute because you don't want to be late, so you get there a little early. It all eats into your margins, and I knew this would happen, but I prepared for it. I keep my exercise routine very simple. I go to the gym 3 times a week and for about 45 minutes. Each day, I like to get 10 miles in on my bicycle, at least 10 miles, sometimes less, sometimes more. 40 minutes it takes me to do 10 and a half miles. And that's it. I keep it simple, but it's not really simple. It didn't start simple. It started very complicated. My margins were not found in the mornings. During this initial part of my employment with my new employer, my margins were not available in the morning. I just couldn't make that work. So I had to look for margins elsewhere. Where were my margins of my day? And because we were required to have a lunch hour, I decided to get, creative. So I looked around the community nearby and I found a gym that is run by the same people that run the gym by my home. An extra $5 a month, it was a no-brainer. I had full access to this new gym. And then when I got home each day, I was prepared. The bicycle was set up, the bicycle pump was at the ready, my tool bag was packed. Everything was ready. All I had to do was jump on the bike. That was that margin. 45 minutes later, I was back at the garage, putting my bike away, and I was continuing on with my evening. So it seems simple to say that I have 3 workouts at the gym each week for about 45 minutes, and I have about 5 to 7 bicycle rides per week lasting about 40 minutes. But it's not that simple. See, when we're trying to fit these things into our margins, we don't want to fit other things around those events. We don't want to spend a lot of time looking for our gear if we are a bicyclist. Now, granted, if you're a walker or if you're a jogger, those things don't require as much equipment, if you will. But still, do you have clean shorts out or clean warm-ups, depending on the season? Is everything ready to go as soon as you hit the bricks? When you get home and it's time to go, there's your margin. But you can waste that margin, that bit of time that you have, that little window of opportunity, by looking for things or not being prepared or having your systems. And having those systems ready is so important because, like I said, you only have so much white space in your day, so much time, just a limited amount of margin. And so you want to have things prepared. This is how you shorten, perspective-wise, the actual activity of exercising. I know that when I leave my garage and that door shuts and I head off on that bicycle, I know that 40 minutes later, I'm going to be right back where I started. It is monotonous and somewhat boring, but I do take adventures elsewhere sometimes. I just want to stay in shape and I want to make sure I get my activity in. 40 minutes out of a 1,440-minute day is perfect. It keeps my brain from thinking, this is too much, because it's not. Once you bring it into perspective, you realize you can fit it in your margin. And there is margin in your life. If you don't have a little bit of margin in your life, you need to evaluate your life and find out what is taking all of your time up. You may very well be in a place in your life where you have no margin, mainly because maybe your text is so full on the page because you've got so much in life going on. But there's something there, something that you probably can let go of. If you look at what we put in our margins sometimes, let's say I get home in the evening times. It's 5 p.m., I've commuted home, it's 5:30, 5:40 maybe, depending on traffic, and I don't get on the bike. What have I done for the next 40 minutes? Maybe I've looked at my social media account to catch up on everybody else's day. Maybe I've shared a little bit of my day with my wife, which probably could have been done over dinner, but she appreciates my sharing and she looks at me glass-eyed because she has no reference of what I'm talking about due to my work being much different than hers. So I could do that and maybe even have a first beer because, hey, right, we've got all evening to end up having a second one, which we really don't need. And if you think about that real quick, right? So we're looking at 500, 550 calories on a bicycle ride and saving a couple of hundred from not having that second beer, not having time for that second beer. So these are my margins and the way that I tease my brain into thinking this is a good thing. Let's go out and ride for 40 minutes, 15 to 16 miles per hour. Let's hurt a little bit, but it's not going to last forever. 30, 40 minutes later, it's over. Look at all the calories you've burned. Look at the feeling you'll have when you get done with it. The great feeling that you'll have of accomplishment that you finished that task and you know you've got your exercise in for that day. Now, as my job has progressed, I have found more margin. I've gotten used to my schedule. My schedule has changed a little bit. I now work from home for the majority of the day, and I'm able to get things done without that commute getting in the way. I've opened up more margin. So everybody is busy. Everybody has something they need to be doing other than jogging, walking, and sitting on the back of a bicycle. But really and truly, if you think about it, those exercise sessions that we do, they're going to give us more time on the other side. It's going to be like money in the bank and gaining interest. Yes, you don't have time to exercise, not because you're lazy. It's because you're extremely busy. It's because you're extremely motivated. Now think about that real quick. The trick is to find space in your margin and fill it with easy to accomplish exercise sessions. Easier said than done, I know. We are, you and I, walking in the same shoes, just with different feet. Trust me, this is doable. You can do this. You can find the margin in your day. Now, next week, we're going to talk about how to find motivation to exercise. You might can find that space, that margin in your life, but now you've got to have the motivation to actually get out there and do that. Now, one final thought, and one we'll elaborate on maybe in a couple of weeks. Exercising in the margins of life is not just short bouts of activity that you can fit into life, like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or parking your car way out in the parking lot and then hiking it in to the store. These are super beneficial, don't get me wrong, and they have positive results for your goals. But they're not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about exercising in the margins, but we'll talk about that later. All we can do is just keep on keeping on. But just make sure you're doing all that you can do. And when I say all that you can do, it doesn't mean all the activity you can do. Be sure to find some rest. Put some rest in your margins. You got to have that. Otherwise, what's it for? You can do this. You got to pace yourself. It took a lot of work to gain that weight, and it's going to take a lot of work to lose it. But you're ready. I know you are, because today's the day.